Hi, I'm Doyle Bishop with Tulsa Heaters Midstream. On this channel, you can expect to hear about all things related to process heating, but sometimes the topics aren't technical, but most of the time they are, so thanks for joining. Hi, I'm Doyle Bishop with Tulsa Heaters Midstream. Today I want to talk to you about air and fuel control and how the burner management system actually takes care of that. One concept you hear about is, hey, that's rich. That's operating as rich. What that means is it needs additional air. So in other words, it's fuel rich. There's too much fuel and not enough air. On the other side of that, you've heard of the term, hey, that's really lean. Well, that means not enough fuel. What does the burner management system do to keep either extreme from happening, or being too rich or too lean? And then secondly, why do we care? Well, let's think about that. If something is too rich and it has too much fuel, first off, you're going to have fuel escaping, so you're going to have energy that leaves the stack and doesn't get burned. Secondly, you're going to have an emissions problem. Hey, I've got too high levels of CO coming out of the stack or too high levels of VOC coming out of the stack, and you're probably going to violate your permit. So that's why you don't want to be rich. You're going to burn too much fuel or use too much fuel, or you're going to have permit violations in your emissions. What about lean? Who cares about that? That means I'm getting too much air. This is a blower that I've drawn here. Getting too much air, and I'm heating up extra air that I really don't need to consume the fuel. So I have extra air that's being heated, and it leaves the stack as a hot gas, and I'm losing BTUs because I'm too lean. So really what you want to do is you want to make that air and fuel mixture just right. And just right means it's just got a little bit extra excess air. In other words, it's just a little bit lean. What would that number look like? Well, typically we look at something like 15% excess air is a good target. That equates to about 3% oxygen coming out of the stack by volume. So the question is how do you control that? How does the system control that? One way to do it is, hey, let's put an analyzer on here, and we can tell the control system, hey, I don't have enough oxygen, or I have too much oxygen, and that works. It's used all the time. What are the problems with an analyzer? Well, analyzers can drift, meaning that they can get out of accuracy and they don't control very well. Someone said, hey, can we train the system and come up with a way to control fuel and air without using an analyzer? So what if we were to do this? What if we were to take a portable analyzer and we created a curve? It's called a fuel air curve, and we do it within the burner management system. So the curve looks something like this. If this is, let's say, 100% open, and this is 100% open, and this is air, and this is fuel. Let's say I crack this valve at 5% open. This valve is barely open. I've got a small fire. I like to have more leanness in that fire. So if I'm on site and I'm creating this curve, I'm using my portable analyzer, and I'm going to adjust this valve position, which is the air. I'm going to adjust it so that I get, let's say, 7% O2. And I look at what gives me 7% O2, and that's some position of this valve. It might be, let's say, 10% open. So what that says is, at this point, when my fuel is 5% open on this valve, my damper is 10% open, I get 7% oxygen in the stack. Good. Let's record that point. We like it. We like the appearance of the flame, and we have a good operating condition. In the future, we're going to train the system so that it knows when this valve drives to 5%, this damper needs to go to 10%. When I do that, I get 7% oxygen, and I'm happy. To complete this curve, I need to really go through the full range of the burner. I need to go from 5% open to, let's say, 80% open. And then each time I'm going to measure my O2 at 80% open on this valve. I need to be 75% open, for instance, on this damper. And that gives me the upper end of this curve. So I record all these points. Now I have a fuel air curve. Now I've drawn a damper here. There's also another way to do it, which is a variable speed drive. I change the speed of this motor, which acts like a damper. So at slow speeds, obviously it's lower air, higher speeds, higher air, and I do that. That's the way we would recommend it. A lot of systems have a damper. The systems we provide most of the time use a variable speed drive. It's a better way to control the blower anyway and more efficient. So I've got a really nice graph I want you to look at, way better than my hand sketch, that shows this much better. So one of the questions you might be having is, hey, what are these dashed lines here? What does this do? One step better than no installed O2 analyzer is actually to have a curve that you create and then also add an analyzer in the stack. We call this for trim. So you have a curve and you use the stack analyzer and it helps you trim it in. So that's what we've got in our control systems. That's what you probably have in a lot of your burner management systems already operating. In summary, you don't have to have a fixed O2 analyzer on the stack, but it also is really nice to have when you have varying weather conditions, and it always makes sure that you stay in this banded region. Hey, thanks for joining. If you enjoyed this episode, hit like or subscribe to get more information about process heating and Tulsa Heaters Midstream.